Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And on today's Going In Raw news brief, Big E talks splitting with the New Day. Keith Lee might be recording new jams. An AEW injury changes the World Title Tournament. A huge WWE star might be returning from injury soon. And we have a Smackdown preview. But first, does WWE have a COVID whistleblower? Larson, what's in the news?
Ooh. So on the heels of the news that 3 WWE venues, the Amway Center, that's where Thunderdome's at, Full Sail Live, and Performance Center. Was that Lightning?
Yeah, that was the Lightning.
I thought the Undertaker was coming.
Usually comes with thunder.
There's a storm coming through, huh?
Yeah.
Anyways, all 3 of those venues are being investigated by a Orange County strike team.
Oh, strike team.
As potential COVID hotspots. Then yesterday, Wrestling Inc. reported that, quote, they have, quote, learned that it is internally believed that several trainees from the Performance Center and or NXT talent made formal complaints about daily operations and protocols not being followed. So let's rewind a couple of weeks before we continue with Wrestling Inc.'s report. So a couple weeks ago, Fightful Select reported that some NXT talents told them, I believe Fightful Select, if I read the Fightful Select article correctly, which you should read Fightful Select articles as well.
Because they're great. Yeah.
Anyways, Fightful Select was told that talents, quote, expressed their discomfort with training with multiple, citing the number of COVID truthers.
Oh, dear.
On the NXT roster that just don't take the situation seriously.
So Wrestling Inc. continued that while, quote, WWE can't control how talent live their lives outside of WWE as much as they probably want to. The company, yeah. The company does want, quote, everyone to be proactive in following protocols when it comes to attending large events and to be conscious about what they are posting on social media. Things such as pictures of talent being unmasked in large gatherings, especially indoors, that could lead one to believe that they were acting in an unsafe manner, are all the things the company wants talent to be aware of before posting.
So they want the optics to be good. Hey, we're wearing a mask in a public setting, not, hey, talent, you should actually wear a mask in a public setting.
I have a better idea. Maybe just ask that they wear masks in public settings, people. So good. Hey, you know what though? Good for the people that have a brain and are ratting this out. I'm sorry. This is their health, their lives, their livelihoods that they are depending on, and it shouldn't be to the people who actually know what they're doing. These Performance Center recruits to be handling this business. This should be the WWE handling this business. There's no room for this bullshit in this day and age.
Nope.
So,
nope. And it's not just the livelihood and health and safety of the performers in the Performance Center. It's their families.
Yeah, for sure.
And members of their community in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, there's potential outbreak in Performance Center doesn't mean he's going to stay in Performance Center. People in the Performance Center, they go out and do things.
Yeah. And
you're potentially threatening not only your coworkers, but others in your community.
Yep. Yeah. There's some weeds that need to be pulled in WWE, man. I'm just gonna say that. Anyways, let's talk about this. Big E, he's terrific.
Oh yeah.
And he had, we were curious about this when the New Day were split, what the situation would be in terms of them finding out how they found out. Historically, when a draft occurs and acts are split up or they're moved, or something happens that could drastically alter a storyline, their careers basically, we've heard historically that they find out when the viewing audience finds out.
There's a more recent example. I don't have the source in front of me, but I read today that Tucker found out on Talking Smack that first night of the draft that he was going to Raw. That's when he found out.
Mm-hmm.
When we found out, he found out.
Yeah. So Big E did an interview with Fox Sports and spoke about when the New Day were informed that they would be splitting up. He said this: "We probably got 2 days in advance, which I think a lot of it was to ensure that we didn't show up to work. And if we heard the news then, I assume that people just imagined that we'd be tearing up the halls, knocking down doors, crying in public, fits of rage. So I feel like they decided, hey, let's give them a couple of days to simmer down at home before we actually had to do this on TV." He continues, initially, obviously, we were not pleased. I'd heard some rumors maybe a month prior that it was something being discussed, but I'd heard rumors for years that we're going to be broken up, so that one of us is going to turn on the other, and we've been able to weather a lot of these storms. But it felt like there was more momentum towards some kind of a split. I'm glad that it wasn't one of us taking a steel chair to the other. I'm glad that there was no permanent split. We got to do something that I think was emotional, but was unique. And then I can't think of another time we got to see a faction that had as much staying power split up in a way that we did, in a way that's loving. So, he has a very good point there. WWE obviously could have forced them into the steel chair scenario, somebody going heel, somebody being a bad guy, animosity. Luckily, this is a situation where WWE was wise enough, Vince was wise enough to understand nobody would want that. That's not something that would get heel heat. That would just be WWE pissing all over its fan base. Yeah. And the way they did it was a lot more, it felt a lot more genuine. It felt a lot more honest the way they did it.
Totally. 100%. Like, myself being a huge New Day fan, I don't want to see them break up. Yeah. Because, and Big E mentions in this interview, they still feel like they have plenty to do as a unit, as a team. And he's right. The way they've managed to keep themselves fresh, interesting, while being a group for 6 years or so is really dang remarkable. And if this storyline, Big E getting split up from Kofi and Xavier Woods, going on a solo run on SmackDown, leads to more story options when they come back together, because that will happen. Yeah, they'll have a reunion. Then that's cool. I mean, here's the thing: as long as WWE doesn't waste this opportunity, they have before them, to potentially craft a really interesting story and really build up Big E as a single star. So long as they don't waste this opportunity and there's something really awesome that comes out of it, then I think they'll be remembered pretty fondly. If they fumbles this opportunity, doesn't follow through whatever vision they have that they've apparently pitched to Big E, because he says he knows about some of the plans they have, and even he said, "I'll believe it when I see it." If they follow through on whatever vision they have, and it's good, great. If they don't, well, this would be another example on a long list of missed opportunities from WWE.
I do feel that it's not there. I'll put it this way: I actually don't believe there's a ton of risk in doing this. Because even if they fumble the ball with Big E, let's say they mishandle his singles run, I don't think it'd be possible to mishandle it spectacularly. When I say spectacularly, I mean he ends up, in the mid card on main event. I personally don't think that's possible. I know we tend to not give WWE the benefit of the doubt on a lot of things. You look at Ricochet, it's probably number one guy that you look at and be like, man, he should be a much bigger star than he is. Even he has spotlights on Raw on a weekly basis. So Big E being a guy that obviously Vince loves, they have big plans for. Even if they mess things up with him, they can go back to the tried and true, stick them back with the New Day and let them do what they were doing before. WWE is never afraid to just hit a reset button and say, okay, well, this didn't work. Let's just put them back to what they were doing before. And then worst case scenario, you still have the New Day. So I think that the reward here could potentially be what you've already spoken on, is that this gives him something new to do, something else to do, add more dimension, add more layers. And then when they get back together, they could potentially be even stronger, which could be a really fun story to tell. Time will tell, though. So, speaking of dudes in the WWE that we really like and want to see succeed, Keith Lee.
Oh, yeah.
Potentially getting yet another new theme song, Larson. What's the good news about this one, though?
So, of course, we go back to his debut on Raw. There's a lot of criticism hurled WWE's way for changing his theme upon his debut on main roster. Of course, he had that great song in NXT, which he provided the vocals for. His main roster debut is pretty generic wrestler theme. So Lee himself took to Twitter and tried to quell any potential discontent his fan base might have. Tell him, hey, calm down. I'll take care of this.
Yeah.
And it seems like he has, because PW Insider is reporting that, quote, Keith Lee is in New York City today, that was yesterday, I believe, doing vocals for a new version of his WWE entrance theme. That's
great.
Exciting.
That's really exciting. That's fantastic. His current theme, his current theme sounds a lot like somebody else, but I'm trying to remember who it was. Doesn't it sound a lot like Lashley's or...
It sounds like generic wrestling theme. It sounds like generic number 16 on one of the video games. That's what it sounds like.
Which is basically Lashley's, but I've just come to associate Lashley with that theme so much that I'm good with it. But if you go from, and I honestly did not mind that much, simply because I understand the outrage, if you will, although I think people are just miffed and not outraged, because we all love Keith Lee. We want him to see good, to see him do good things. And his theme song was a personal piece of him because he was actively involved in the production of it. And when you strip that away, it's like, oh, he's being remolded superficially even as generic wrestling guy. My take was, well, yeah, but he beat Randy Orton like in his first match on main roster. He was pretty relevant that way. He's in a pretty decent thing with Braun right now. Hasn't been perfect, of course not, because WWE doesn't do that anymore. But this is a really great step in the right direction. Looking forward to seeing what this sounds like.
Yeah, me too. I'm pretty excited about it.
Something to not be terribly excited about. Fenix, AEW's Ray Fenix, out injured for the AEW tournament. Do we know what is the actual? Do you think it had to do? Do we know that it had to do with that rough bump of his?
I believe so. I heard he had something. He had something wrong with his neck. Maybe, but unconfirmed. Potentially neck.
Okay, so the good news, the flip side of that, number one, there's a great video of this that AEW posted where Eddie Kingston is convincing Fenix to give up his spot to Pentagon, and Pentagon gets in on the action. It's just really terrific stuff, and punctuated in the end by Kingston saying, just think about it. Once Pentagon finishes the tournament, he wins, and I make Moxley tap out, I get to fight my best friend.
So good. Great. And Phoenix's reaction was great.
It really is, yeah.
He basically rolls his eyes at the whole thing. This whole Kingston family is just barely hanging together, and I love it.
It's terrific. It really is. So we're gonna get an all-in rematch: Kenny Omega versus Pentagon Jr. El Seto M. This is gonna be their all-in match. Was one of my favorites. It was really, really terrific stuff.
Yeah.
We got a package pile driver on the apron.
Yeah, and that wasn't even the finish.
Yeah. It was really terrific stuff. So this is gonna be great. This is gonna be a great match.
It's gonna be fantastic.
Especially now that we've got this new version of Kenny Omega, who's just like a sort of a mix between the cleaner and just straight up prick.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah.
Speaking of something else that's pretty great, you might have WWE superstar close to return, and finally may see the end. Finally, of the storyline that's gone on probably way too long. So Wrestling Observer newsletter is reporting that, quote, Rey Mysterio should be back any time now as far as in the ring. He said his partially torn triceps healed slower than he expected, but he is at about 99%. So maybe we'll finally see Seth and Rey have their blow-off match at Hell in a Cell, which would, of course, need to be set up tonight on SmackDown because it's the go-home show for Hell in a Cell. Speaking of which, I suppose we could just get right into it.
Yeah.
Let's do our SmackDown preview. It's pretty brief today. First time of business, Roman Reigns to reveal consequences for Sunday's Universal title Hell in a Cell I Quit match with his cousin, Jey Uso.
He's out of the family. That's what it's going to be. He's out of the family.
And you take this one. I know you're excited about it.
Oh, man. This is great. This is straight from the preview. Law and Otis comes to SmackDown tonight. Are we going to have the actual trial at Thunderdome? Or are they going to try to find some sort of facsimile courtroom? Are they going to try to doll up catering to like a court? I don't know. This is going to be absolutely. They're probably just going to do it in a conference room if they're smart, because a lot of legal settlements just take
arbitrations
place.
And such. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I am very, 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 very much looking forward to this. This is going to be a good belly laugh. I'm all in on it. So we'll see what happens, though. Hopefully, y'all join us tonight on the Twitch at twitch.tv/Steven Larson. We'll be doing our live recap following SmackDown. In addition to that, right after that, we'll be doing our live predictions for Hell in a Cell, so you can see all that in advance of it going live on YouTube. The SmackDown review will be up on YouTube later on tonight. Predictions tomorrow morning. So yeah, check all that out, and it's a good time. We hang out, talk some shit before and after the cameras are officially rolling. So hopefully we'll see you guys there. Thanks for watching, and until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.
Be a part of the best pro wrestling podcast today at patreon.com/Steven Larson. Enjoy tons of bonus videos, including patron-only live shows, gameplay, and vintage 10 for the wins, access to podcast question threads, the Friendo Care Package, and so much more. Support Going In Raw today at patreon.com/Steven Larson.